Hey everybody, welcome to the 5th episode of this IG Live podcast we've been doing. Today's episode, another one for the Hoopers. This guy is a basketball skills trainer based in New York City. He has clients such as NBA Champion Serge Ibaka. He has the Plumlee brothers. He does a lot of stuff with the Duke Brotherhood. And he's got a lot of clients that were based on the Knicks. He met Langston Galloway, I think, when he was on the Westchester Knicks. So David has a lot of clients, a lot of high D1 athletes in college basketball. He really works on guys with shooting, but he's an all-around skills trainer. And the way I know David is through a good friend, Dan Rome, Rome Sports Management. And he got us together and we filmed some content together, and that's not the last of it. We'll film content together for years to come. But I wanted to just use David just to shed some knowledge to the Hoopers and seeing some advice he could give them for the quarantine. Obviously, that's the theme on a lot of this, but also just to tell his story and give inspiration to anyone want to be a trainer or working in the basketball world in general. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are coming back for our 5th episode of this live installment, this podcast. Happy Easter to everybody. Yo, what's good, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you, too.
How you feeling the pink?
I love it.
Yeah, got that Easter flow. So what's good, man? How's your quarantine been? I know you're right in the heart of it in New York. How you been handling this?
Laying low, man. Culinary skills are through the roof.
I see that on IG.
No, but it's been good. I've just been laying low, to be honest with you. Just watching a lot of film, doing a lot of stuff like that. Just trying to keep as sharp as possible whenever this thing gets lifted, to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, keep it just...
How's it out there?
It's chill, man. I'm in Los Angeles. It was actually not bad. The beaches closed about 2 weeks ago, and that kind of threw everything off because now there's kind of nowhere to just kind of go outside-wise, but hard to complain, I'm doing all right, trying to make the best of it. That's why I'm doing stuff like this. It's giving me opportunity to, do stuff I've been procrastinating about. But, dude, you mentioned film. We got a lot of Hoopers that follow us just because we do a lot of high school content. If you were a high school Hooper, you were at one point, but you take yourself back there with all the knowledge you have now. What are some of the things that you'd be looking for watching film right now or studying players? What's some things that they could do to watch YouTube and just get better?
Yeah, man. Well, speaking of high school, shout out to my Patrick School boys. I see you guys in here. But yeah, I would think that kids nowadays, you have so much footage out there, and especially the fact that YouTube is, readily accessible. I would study little things. I mean, the way that the game is nowadays, spreading out the floor and lots of threes being put up, I think that's like the focal point of the game. But the little things to get to those things, to the ability to score, that's something that kids should focus on. We don't do enough in terms of promoting how, mid-range opens up those opportunities for those kids to get those threes. So, those are the things that I would tell, the younger me. Maybe you should, study some more and do a little bit more in terms of the footwork things. And it's progressive in terms of the knowledge that I've gained throughout the years. But, yeah, if I can go back in time with the stuff that I have now, I'd be studying, old school tapes,
Who are some of the players that you would look to?
Well, growing up, my dad always talked about, the Larry Birds of the world and, Hakeem Olajuwons, guys with good footwork, but very cerebral players. I grew up during the Jordan era, so, that was the guy, obviously. We all watch Mike. But, just guys like Mark Price, I would tell kids, you should watch a lot of tape on Mark Price, Drazen Petrovic in terms of moving without the ball. Those type of guys actually are very similar to the players that we watch today. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, similar to what Steph Curry was like.
Yeah.
Just
I think Phil Jackson was the first guy to call that out.
Yeah, Phil Jackson did say that. I think it got misconstrued because a lot of people were just like, you're not putting them on the same level. I don't think he meant to do it. It's just a very, very
Nah, when you see them with the ball in their hands, there's definitely similarities.
Oh, yeah.
So, David...
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is a problem.
Yeah, and we got AK that just saying Mark Price underrated. I think he's a 50-40-90 guy, right, Mark Price?
Oh, Mark was a problem. Kids, watch Mark Price. If you ever, when you get off of this and you can watch YouTube, watch Mark Price.
So, David, just real quick, I kind of mentioned some of the NBA guys that you've trained. If you could just kind of give your backstory. I know it's actually pretty extreme. You were down to like last dollars in your pocket, but if you could kind of give the backstory to some of these kids that are watching, maybe start off with some of the guys that you've trained and then go into how you got into training.
Well, it's all like a snowball effect, just the opportunity to get into this was very slim. Let's just say that. When I graduated college, I wanted to get into coaching. I wanted to get into training, player development by any means necessary. But it's a very difficult industry to break into, obviously. And so I coached a lot of youth basketball, travel basketball, AAU. Wasn't making a lot of money. But it got literally to the point where I was down to like $4.75. No joke, $4.75.
Crazy.
I found a quarter in the glove compartment. So after the dude pumped the $4.75, I was like, "Listen, man, I'm sorry, but you mind putting in this quarter? I got to make this workout." Because a kid hit me up asking if I could train him because he wants to make his varsity basketball team. I go up to the workout. Man, the kid loved the workout. His parents were there too. They were asking me, if this is something that I do for a living. I was like, yeah, this is how I make my money. Long story short, they were just like, well, what are your long-term goals? And that was something that was very interesting because you don't get that a lot, with new clients. It's just basically like work out my kid. Hopefully he makes the team and keep it moving. But they took a liking to me and the workouts we were doing and just the rapport that I built with that young man. And it kind of built to where the guy said, listen, I can introduce you to some people, but after I do so, you're going to have to take the baton and run with it. It led to me getting a job with the Westchester Knicks doing the shot clock. So, anytime I'm in the arena, I'm going to talk to anybody and everybody, just because I want to learn what they do, who they are, and, just basically, get my name out there saying that this isn't what I do specifically. I also train players. Some of the players that I met in Westchester, Langston Galloway being one of the first ones, he and I, developed a great relationship. We still talk to this day. That's my guy. And, it kind of just blew up more when Porzingis got drafted by the Knicks. He and I developed a relationship as well, along with his brothers. And it kind of just came to fruition. One day I got a text after doing some training with like guys that were going to go to EuroLeague. It wasn't even anything NBA related, but it was just training guys for getting ready to go up to Europe. And it was from KP's agent who said, "Listen, Serge Ibaka is looking for a guy to just work him out, and hopefully, if he takes a liking to you, you're good to go. You can stay. And if he doesn't, well, that's it."
Yeah, right.
Listen, man, you got to come with your A game. This was back in 2017. And
it's a lot of pressure, bro. That's a pressure-filled workout.
Man, it was because, this was my first real big, star. You know what I mean? Serge Ibaka is a big name in the league. And the fact that he's telling me, listen, this is your workout. We're going to have you, we're going to basically watch you work him out, and we're going to see if we like you too. So it wasn't just necessarily just a player. And 2017, and now we're 2020, and he's done pretty well. So I'm pretty happy to develop that relationship with him. But that kind of you just put yourself in the right situation, right time, and Mason Plumlee, Marshall Plumlee, the Duke connection kind of opened up through. Ironically, was the same position. I was in the NBPA waiting for Serge, and he was coming from a photo shoot. So Mason Plumlee is just shooting some free throws. So I'm like, he doesn't have anybody rebounding for him. That's kind of odd. So I just walked up to him and I was like, listen, Serge isn't here for another hour. I could just, I'll just rebound for you. Why not? And we just got to talking. We had some mutual friends, just around basketball in general. And he was like, I've seen your work with Serge. I like it. What are you doing in terms of training? And I was like, shoot, I'll work you out right now.
Yeah.
So that kind of just happened where it was right place, right time. And I took a leap because, growing up a huge Duke fan, obviously I knew who he was. And just the opportunity to get into that, it was great.
So what was that? How long of a span was that from, the $5 in the gas tank to now you have 2 clients of Ibaka and Plumlee?
The $5 was the end of. That was the beginning of. The young man was in 2014, so it was 3 years in between.
Not long ago,
so
man.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was 2014. It was the end of 2013 when I was getting emails from the kid, and then when I actually had the opportunity to do so, just to go out there and work him out, it was 2014.
But you went all in though.
Oh yeah, man.
There wasn't no half stepping. Like you were all in.
No, I had to because literally, I asked. I was like, listen, you can bring $50 cash. That's what I was charging guys to work out. It's $50 cash, and I was like, listen, if you could bring that money, that'd be great. I wasn't telling them why, but it was just basically I need the money to get gas to get back, home, but also I needed to eat. So it was kind of crazy. I mean, it wasn't even like everything happened immediately like that. I mean, there were times where I did like sleep in a car just because I wanted to wait for the next workout that I had to go to.
Right.
You can't just burn through money and just expect everything coming from one kid. And then I had other clients of course as well, but living in New York, everything's expensive. So yeah, man, it wasn't overnight, but it wasn't that long ago.
And on Instagram, I always see you have a Duke connection. What was the biggest thing? I mean, what was the biggest thing that you took from Coach K, just being around him when you were down there? I've had the opportunity of being around him with Team USA basketball, just filming around them. Dude's a special guy. Like, to be honest, I grew up kind of one of those guys that was not really a Duke hater because growing up in Long Island, there's no, like, college that you really like. St. John's a little bit, but nothing hardcore, So I was kind of a Duke hater. Like, not a hater, but I would root against them. But when you get around that guy, he's all class, man, and he's one of the most likable coaches I've ever been around him. And I learned a ton from him. He would motivate. He's inspiring. What are some of the things basketball-wise and as a coach you took from Coach K?
Well, I talked to Coach.
By the way, Hashim the Dream in the house right now. What's up, Hashim?
Oh, man. And shout out to my man, Daniel Koreski. That's one of my local Westchester boys. Shout out to you, Dan. But nah, Coach K, anytime I get to go down to Duke, I'm down there with Mace, Mace or Marshall, those guys, I go down for K Academy and, sometimes I just go with the guys, whether they're working out in the off season, but, man, Coach is a special guy. He has so much wisdom, and it's not necessarily like he doesn't even approach you like he's like the greatest coach of all time. When I first met him, man, I grew up a huge Duke fan. I mean, everybody who knows me knows I love Duke since I was 4 years old, like that. And the first time I ever got to meet Coach, legit, palms were sweaty. I took off my hat. I stood up. I was like,
right.
No, sir. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and he's like, relax. Like, he's like, my Coach, nice to meet you. But he just made you feel like really at ease. But even stuff where it was like, if you talk about, I don't know, just at training in general, like, he talked to me about the type of training I was doing with Mason, and just saying like, here's the little things that I see. Right. I appreciate it. Just those little things like that. But Coach, real quick story. I was about the first time I ever went to Duke's campus, I drove down just because it was like, man, I had the opportunity to go down there. I was not waiting. I couldn't really afford a ticket. So I just, drove down. Anyway, I parked. I don't know if you're familiar with the campus. But
I am a little bit. My sister used to live in Raleigh, so I'm familiar with it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I parked by the chapel, which is by the bookstore. And Cameron is on the other side, pretty much. It's not close to campus. It's not close on campus. And it was pretty hot out. And we were leaving out of the practice facility. And I didn't talk to Coach much. And he sees me legit walking down the street. And this big, this truck pulls up next to me, window rolls down. He's like, where are you going? And I was like, I parked by the bookstore, but it's cool. Don't worry about it, Coach. Like, I'm okay. It's like 95 degrees out. It's pretty bad. And he's like, get in the car. Come on. And it was the coolest 5 minutes of my life talking about everything but basketball.
Right.
It was dope, man. He's a great guy.
Yeah. And you must have left that pretty inspired coming back to your training. What'd you bring back to your training from that?
Everything he told me. everything he told me in terms of Mace and Marshall. You know, he loves his former players. I mean, if you go through that program, he loves them.
Yeah.
And you could tell they love him too. Just, you know, seeing the guys come back for K Academy, you know, these guys really enjoy being around him and taking all that time they have with him. But he taught me a lot about the game. Just even when I was, you know, you get to coach these guys. It's a fantasy basketball camp. I don't know if people are familiar with K Academy, but you get to, you know, coach guys who want to be a Duke athlete for the week. But he's intently like watching. And when I'm on the sideline, you know, I got the, you know, my book out and everything like that. I'm taking notes, anything. And he's just like talking about watching screens, watching like little things. And I took it and ran with it. I was like, here, you know, this is what coach told me. This is what we're going to do for the off-season workouts, man.
That's dope, man.
So,
and what did I cut you off?
No.
Oh, so talk to me about the new role at the Patrick School. I mean, legendary basketball school in New Jersey. For obvious reasons, Kyrie, I guess, being the biggest alum, I would say, right? Kyrie's the biggest alum?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by far. Is it by far? I didn't know. Al Harrington, right? Back in the day. I mean...
Al Harrington.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great, you know, Shaheen Holloway.
Yeah, ridiculous roster. Kid Crest. Yeah. So just talk to me about what your position there is and what you're trying to do in terms of the coaching aspect and not just the training angle.
Yeah, I mean, we have great coaches there. We have great coaches that are there. You know, the head coach, Chris Chavanis, great coach, has won TOCs, you know, has won state championships, and Tiny Morton, legend in New York City.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, those two alone, you know what I mean? So it's great to learn from those guys and pick their brains all the time. But all the stuff that I do with my players in the off season, you know, Bembry, yep. Sorry, I didn't want to leave anybody out. I was leaving the two big guys. But yeah, no. When you're able to just pass on knowledge, like just the little things that you do with any of the players that you have, whether it's collegiate or NBA, to high schoolers. But you know, these kids are tremendously talented. You know, they're elite. It's something where it's important. It's vital. Where it's like, listen, guys, the little things add up. And I'm sure the kids that are here, you know, watching will tell you, like, every day, you know, I always tell them, you got to, you know, form a habit, because then that habit forms you. You know what I mean? Like, those little things add up. So that's kind of more so my role with the development for the guys, you know, just being, like, the sounding board. As I said, you know, positive criticism goes a long way. You know, the player knows that you love them and you care for them. But, you know, you're willing to put a foot up their butt. They know that, too. You know, things pretty work out pretty well.
And then how we met is through our mutual friend Dan Rome, right? That's correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
about say maybe
yes,
2.5, 3 years ago.
27. Yeah, the same summer I started working with Serge.
Right. So, and then we filmed that thing that I posted on my page together with Mason Plumlee, and then like a year later you were the star of the ESPN commercial. Now I say that jokingly, but talk to me about that experience. I joke when I say that, but you explain the role that you had before the draft with RJ Barrett and Zion. You got to play a part in like a pretty sick commercial that ESPN did for the draft. What was that experience like?
Prior to the draft, you know, they were trying to obviously hype it up, and you know, those two are, you know, two of the biggest names in that year's draft, so, or one of the biggest names in the draft in Zion. So it was cool because Dan and a friend of ours from ESPN approached me and was like, listen, I know that you have a relationship with these two guys. You know, how would you feel about setting it up where we could kind of, you know, and they showed me what the vision was, you know, Hobbs and Shaw, you know, two guys working together, you know, one-time rivals. Now, you know, they got to be teammates, and it's funny because RJ and Z are very, very close.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell in the behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great, man. So they, you know, they were on board with it, and you know, I just wanted them to have the opportunity to have a big splash for their first commercial. So, you know, ESPN called. You know, I directed it to the respective parties. And we met in Los Angeles about a month later. And, you know, we had a blast filming that day. I think we started off at like I'd say call time was 8 a.m. and we didn't leave until about 6, 7 at night. So
wow.
It was a long day, but it was so much fun. And both guys were, really excited to do it. And we had a lot of fun because they were asking a lot of questions. They were excited about the prospect of the draft, but also this is their first commercial on ESPN for, doing something with The Rock. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? That's like a big opportunity for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Fresh Focus got you ready for that.
Oh, big time. I knew what side I wanted. I knew the angles, all that.
That's cool, man. So what?
It was great. It was great to just do the little stuff behind the scenes.
What? How is this? Obviously, this quarantine's gonna affect your workouts for the off season. We don't know if there's gonna be an off season right away. What are you trying to do to some of your guys in terms of telling them to keep ready? Are you sending them film clips? Are you sending them drills to do? Like, what can you do kind of at this point that someone could kind of take, what you're doing with your guys and learn from it?
Serge is pretty busy with his shows. He's done a great job. He's hilarious, man. He's done a great job with that. He's been keeping in shape, staying in the apartment, doing those little things. But, Mace, workouts here and there. I think, on his own, finding a court anywhere you can. It's tough, man. These guys they're creatures of habit, so I couldn't imagine being, in their shoes. But I think most important is just keeping up with them. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? If you need anything, just little things like that. But just kind of making sure that they're good mentally, and they all seem to be in a good spot where, they have family around or, they're keeping themselves preoccupied. But yeah, the film thing's important though, just because as small as it sounds, you can't watch enough film. Even if it's something from the beginning of the season and how things kind of translate towards the end of it, you gotta watch a lot of film always.
Yeah, definitely. Any pointers on what to look for? Like, say someone doesn't know, I don't know, maybe it's their first time like looking at film. Is it something that they should be looking for? Should they study one guy's one move? Like, how would you tell someone to approach watching film that's never done that before?
It's very intricate. I would say the biggest thing you should watch, it depends on your position and what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, fundamentals are, the basis of everything, the base of everything. So, good feet, good footwork, stuff that, keep yourself balanced. I think a lot of guys are, these guys are such great athletes that you can't just jump into something immediately and, I guess pick it up. But if you're a novice to watching film, I suggest that you watch the little things, as I said, the way they set their feet, the way they keep their hands ready for the shot. Just even when they get into their positions or their spots on the floor, you got to see a lot of those guys, do it consistently, and then you can do it yourself. Just because you can't walk onto the court and the first thing you do is chuck up a three. You got to do the little things first. And the workouts we do, form shooting and getting yourself established closest to the rim, and you have a rhythm and you see the ball going in, that's the first step. So, those type of things, the little things add up, and I would say that those are the most important things you should look for in film.
And then for someone, that's past their hoops career but wants to go into doing what you're doing, like they want to be a trainer with high D1 guys, high school guys, NBA players, what's your suggestion? What's your advice for people that want to take the same path that you're at? They want to get to the position that you're at.
I would say just network, but network properly. You can't work out one guy, one time and say that you're his trainer, or you can't necessarily be, I would guess you can't, skip steps. And I've had to learn that, myself, just because being in this game, a lot of the time the players are very particular about the work that they do, but especially who they're with. And so, just network, and do it the right way, and just try to go to every camp you can, go to coaching clinics. The Final Four is a great networking opportunity, just things like that. Not necessarily just to be a trainer, but, coaches are always looking for the opportunity to pick trainers' brains, and then vice versa. So, just being around basketball and build it organically, because you can never skip steps, because if you don't study enough or if you don't do enough in terms of truly establishing a good network, it won't work out too well.
And then in terms of like how we met in terms of doing video, what's your philosophy on video in terms of training your guys? I mean, you don't let too much cameras in there. We just did that one thing together. I mean, we've had plans to do a lot more. It just hasn't really worked out. But what's your kind of philosophy on video? I know a lot of trainers kind of go one way or the other with that. But what's your personal philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the cameras in. Obviously, the player has to be okay with it first.
Right.
That's the most important thing. So, if the guy's comfortable with him, having a camera in his face, that's cool. But I think it just varies on the player, because there's nothing wrong with you documenting your work. This nowadays, Instagram and just social media as a whole, it's pretty much your resume. Just for you to be able to show the work that you can do, on demand. It's pretty influential in how other players are going to either come to you or recommend you. So it's important, but the players have to be okay with it first. But I haven't been one to really have a lot of cameras in, just because starting off too, I'm not going to lie, like I was intimidated by the opportunity to work with a guy like Serge. So, as I said, he's so particular and he's very, very, he's a perfectionist, So why would I want to not necessarily waste time, but like, why would I want to focus on like, oh, let's do these a bunch of times just so I can get it on camera. Meanwhile, he's looking for me to be like, hey, I need you to be sharp as well.
Right, totally. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely got to be a level of trust there already with your clients. It's not like you could just bombard film crews.
Yeah, you could do it. I mean, yeah, go ahead, record all you want, but make sure that, you have that rapport with your guys first.
Yeah.
And also, there has to be a purpose behind it to truly be able to teach the game, but also you're learning too. There are different things that I can learn from the type of film that I have, especially with, I have more footage of some of my college guys, just because they're more prone to not making mistakes, but they're more prone to dealing with different types of defenses thrown at them. And it's kind of like that shock value where it's like some guys that are, incoming freshmen, sometimes even sophomores, they're just like, whoa, like this is what pro workouts are going to be like. Yeah, that's what it's going to be like. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then as we kind of come to the end here, in terms of looking forward on your career, what path are you looking to take? Is it kind of all these paths of coaching, training, and kind of what you're doing now, or is there something you want to narrow more in on, or like what is kind of like your vision for the next couple of years, or are you just gonna, I don't even know?
I love what I do. To have the opportunity to, as I said, network, but build relationships with guys in the league and also college. Obviously everybody sees the Duke connection, but I have 14 guys that play high major D1. So it's not just that, but it's like these type of the kids that I have, they. We keep in tabs all the time. We keep in touch just because you want to make sure that they're good mentally. That's half the battle, but that's something that I think is very important. So I like what I do. Eventually, I would like to do more so on the scouting side of things. I do a lot of scouting with the kids that are coming into the drafts, just because I love to study the game, but also you just never know. I never go to a player to ask him to train. It's more so like if word of mouth, or if it's like, hey, I heard you're good at this, let's meet up and, I could see if we like, your work, cool, then we'll do that. But you just never know. And if you come across a guy who, really wants to get better at a certain craft, you're going to have to work on his weaknesses first. And so that's half the battle, especially watching a lot of tape. So I think scouting would be great, but player development in the NBA, working for an organization, great culture, that's something that is number one on my list. But this game, there's a lot of ways to go with this, man. You know what I mean? You always gotta keep your options open. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. But I'm excited, especially for this draft, to see the type of guys coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I follow you on Twitter, so you actually led me into something I wanted to talk about and didn't get to. So this is a perfect transition. You really break down players a lot. That's one of the things that you do. You put your name to it. You diagnose their game, and you do it before they come out, which is something that your record's going to be there on Twitter. So you got to put, you have to have confidence in what you're doing. What players do you like this year that are obvious, and then what are some of the sleepers that aren't getting the attention that they should?
Man, well, Anthony Edwards, 6'5" shooting guard out of Georgia. He's explosive. I liken him to a Donovan Mitchell 2.0. He's crazy athletic. He makes tough shots. He's got a big frame, strong body. I mean, he's a big 6'5". He's got a pro's body already. He's explosive. Obi Toppin, that boy's a beast.
Yeah.
He swept all the awards this year. Westchester product. I liken him to Amari. Just with the frame. I mean, he's got a great body, great jump shot, great athleticism. He's underrated in passing out of the double teams, which I think will help him a lot in the league because the way things are in spacing and trying to be able to help get that open shot. You're going to need that. Great rim runner too. So I think teams are going to covet that. LaMelo Ball, is 6'8", do it all point guard. Great touch, great feel, great vision. I love his game. And then James Weisman, he's a beast. We didn't get to see a lot of him in Memphis this year, which, it stinks. That rule was ridiculous. But,
ridiculous, yeah.
Ridiculous, man. But if you get to watch this guy, I mean, lefty, great feet. I mean, really nice feet. And he can move. He's nimble, can shoot the jump shot. He's pretty good. And so those are like the four that are like, I would say like top of the line, like the top four in the draft. And then in terms of like sleeper picks, Tyrese Halliburton from Iowa State. I love this kid. I mean, I love the opportunity. If he was able to drop to a team like the Knicks, I don't know, just if the Knicks fell out of the top 4, top 5, he's a kid
which
that
they
I would
will
really look at.
We're both Knicks fans, we know that happens.
Lord willing, that doesn't happen, man. I was devastated last year. I mean, not devastated, but because we got.
It would have been game changing though with Zion
game changer with Zeke, but I'm happy RJ's here. That's. I can't pick. As long as
he's so young, man. RJ's so young.
Listen, you could ask anybody who was with me that night when that came out. I was like, listen, I hope we don't get 2. 1 or 3 is fine with me. You know what I mean? But yeah, no. Tyrese Halliburton, Isaac Okoro from Auburn. He's an animal. I mean, he's going to be a really good pro. Killian Hayes, he's an overseas prospect. He's really, really young. He's got some growing to do, but he's got a good body, 6'5", and he's going to grow into his body. But sleepers, Jalen Smith out of Maryland, he's a 6'10". He's a stretch 4. Kid can really shoot it, but he's really active. I mean, he averaged a double-double this year. And, he might slip out of the first round, but the type of skill set he has, he's going to flourish in this league. And Sadiq Bey from Villanova, 6'8", tough. He's a dog. So those are my sleepers. So that's the list of guys that I have that, people should really keep an eye on for the draft.
That's awesome, man. I just told them, too, to check out you on Twitter because you're dropping gems on there all the time. I mean, you're fighting with the haters. There's a lot of Knicks fans on there that are coming in, but that's just what you got to deal with.
Listen, man, this quarantine, I got to do something. I'm trying to keep myself preoccupied. It's pretty funny how, a lot of guys are on Twitter.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Thoughts on Khalil, who we did a doc on last year. Thoughts on Khalil. He just entered the draft. What do you like about his game?
Well, he's a great athlete. I didn't get to watch a lot of, he didn't get to play a lot of Kentucky, which, kind of hurt. But from what I know personally and seeing him last year in Jersey, kid's a freak athlete. He's a great athlete. He's got a great energy. He's active. I think if he's able to tune up his jump shot, and then also understand a little bit more in terms of spacing, because his role is going to be more perimeter oriented, obviously, he'll be really good. But he's just a great athlete right now. I can't really tell you where I see him falling in the draft just because
so much unknown.
it's so much unknown, and also
more than any draft year ever, though, because the nature of it is going to be weird in terms of it's just not going to be, it's not going to be April pre-draft starts. There's not. It's such a different. We don't know what it's going to be.
No, it's not, and it's tough. But athletically, I think he could hang out with anybody. He's like, he's got a bigger frame, bigger body than Kid Gilchrist did coming out at the same time. So I see Denny Avdija. That's another guy. He's an interesting prospect too. He's from Israel. 6'8", 6'9". He's kind of more like a do-it-all. I think he has to be in the right system. Denny has to go to a team like a New Orleans and Atlanta, with the strong point guards to put him in the right spot to be an open shooter. Because the first couple of years in the league, I think he's going to be more so of that spot-up shooter you're going to have to run off the three-point line.
Awesome, man. Anything that I didn't get in that you wanna give any promotion or anything on the way out?
Stranger Things season 4 coming up. Got a shout out my man Caleb McLaughlin. I talked to my little bro about it beforehand. I appreciate you guys letting me on. This is great. The work that we've done is pretty awesome, and you guys following us at the Patrick School. The boys loved it. We really appreciated that. It was pretty.
And next year too, big things. With Jonathan coming back for his senior year and all that. I mean, Jersey it's funny where we're located, Jersey and LA. I feel like it's the two hottest places for hoops in the country.
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, and the way social media is able to you can get everything out like that. It's pretty awesome to see. The kids are able to interact with each other. It's pretty great to see. One of the questions here, I think, this is a topic that I think is pretty interesting, is players working with other trainers.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm personally, listen, my guys, I care for them in terms of their production, period. So if I'm not around and they have the opportunity to work out with somebody else and get themselves better somehow, go for it. It's like, who am I to be like, nah, you can't do it. You can't work out with anybody else or limit yourself. You know what I mean? So,
I don't think...
And plus, everything's a craft at the end of the day. So, the player that is the one that's going to trust you the most, that's all that matters.
For sure. And you got to have that trust. Like, you don't own them. You want them to get better. Someone could always learn something from someone else. Doesn't mean they won't be loyal and come back to you as their main guy.
Oh, yeah, like Serge, I'm not just the only guy that works out Serge.
Of course.
He has a guy named Hugo Lopez. Shout out to Hugo Lopez. That's with him a majority of the summer that comes from Spain. Serge does a lot of traveling. So, that guy, I mean, he's coached in Spain for a very, very long time, and Canada as well. So, I mean, I pick Hugo's brain as well. I mean, that guy has so much knowledge. Who am I to be like, to shut that off on both ends? Yeah,
and it's naturally going to happen anyway. Like, they're going to have a player development coach on their NBA staff, so they're going to work with that guy, and technically that guy has a bigger voice than the personal trainer in a sense because he's coming from the team. Not to say that they'll listen to it more, but what I'm saying is you're going to have to deal with that anyway as a trainer. It's just inevitable.
Staff and players on an NBA roster, from what I've seen firsthand and like watching practices, that certain players, have that one guy that they
100%.
That they gravitate to, and they spend more time with them than they do their family. So there's no way that you could ever have a guy that's not going to feel that draw to them in a personal sense. And it's like a matter of, listen, our job as trainers in the off season is just to fine tune the things that they're trying to get better at. And player development coaches in the league are the ones that are keeping all of those things going, just because that's the game plan, that's the culture, those are the things that they need to establish. And yeah, there are times where you'll get a phone call and just be like, and it's during the season where guys are like, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to come here, and we got to do this because I'm feeling like I'm in a rut.
Yeah.
And a different voice goes a long way. And when you're able to be positive and help out the player, and it's coming from a good place, that it shows, man.
Yeah, definitely, especially something like shooting. So much involved mentally. So to have that different voice look at your shot and take clear eyes on it is a big deal.
Yeah, night and day. I mean, it's little things, man. It adds up,
Yeah. All right, dude. We got to definitely do another project together this summer once this quarantine's over. We'll definitely film some stuff and do content together, man. Appreciate you coming on here.
To it, man.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you coming on. Happy Easter, bro. Stay safe.
You too, man.
All right.
Likewise. Take care.
Peace.